Hello everybody and welcome back to another C++ programming exercise video, and in today's video we're going to be doing C++ programming exercise number 13. Now programming exercise number 13 says, in this exercise you will design a class member type. Each object of member type can hold the name of a person, member ID, number of books bought, and amount spent. Include the member functions to perform the various operations on the objects of member type. For example, modify, set, and show a person's name. Similarly, update, modify, and show the number of books bought and the amount spent. Also, add the appropriate constructors, and D, write the definitions of the member functions of member type, and E, write a program to test various operations of your class member type. Okay, so here we have our class member type. We have our variables and we have our functions, our function initializations. Now this is a file that this is the input file that we're going to use in order to run our program. This input file contains all the data that we're going to be using. Okay. Anyways, now we need to get to actually declaring these functions, and we need to get to writing the implementation for these functions. Let's get to it. So here we have our functions written down inside of our implementation file. Now the first thing that you want to do for this is you just want to basically declare everything that's up here to the actual variables. Okay, so for example, this is basically what we're going to have. Okay, we have our variables from our class and we initialize them to their corresponding input variables up here. Now we need to set the individual variables. We need to set the individual functions where we set each individual variable. And now we can safely just do this. And for under is member ID, all we need to do is return is member ID equal to ID with parentheses all around it. Next, we want to get the books purchased, right? And all we need to do is write in return the books purchased. And then we want to return the amount spent. Now, all we need to do in this case is also return the amount spent. And for purchased book, all we need to do is write in, since we have the amount up here, all we need to do is increase the books purchased by 1 and increase the amount spent by increments of amount. And now for reset books bought and the amount, all we need to do is set the books purchased and the amounts. All we need to do is set the books purchased and the amount spent to 0. And now for print member ID, all we need to do is print out the member ID, which is very simple. All we need to do is cout member ID, member ID. And for print name, all we need to do is cout name, first name, last name. And for print info, all we need to do is print the info of our person. And in this case, oh wait, this is supposed to be print member ID. This is supposed to be up here. And for print name, that goes up there. And for print info, as I said, just delete that. There we go. member ID, name, number of books bought, total amount spent. And for member type, all we need to do is initialize all of the variables we have up here and initialize them to their blank states, which is 0 for numbers and empty string brackets or empty string quotation marks for strings. So now we have all of our functions declared. They were all fairly self-explanatory and none of them were very complicated. Now we can move on to the main.cpp. Now here is the main.cpp. Make sure you have these header files included, and we can get to the program. Now the first thing that we need to do is we need to make a function to get the members data. The reason for that is because we first need to actually get the data and then we can access it. And then we need to print the members data. Okay? And now we need to write our declarations for all of these functions, for these two functions. So what we can do is we can just copy and paste. And there we go. Now for get members data, all we need to do is declare a couple of variables, right? So first we need to, we have to declare our counter variable, which is going to be I. And we also have to declare our corresponding variables that we're going to have inside this program. They're going to be equal to the variables that we used inside the class. Now we need to write in our input file stream variable. And we need to use that variable to open. We need to use that variable to open up member data.txt. And now next inside of our file, we're going to have our count variable. Okay? Now the count variable is basically just going to be saying how many instances of people are inside of that file. Okay? So once we take in as input the count, next we have to write in a for loop for I. While for I is equal to 0, I is less than count, I plus plus. Then we take in as input all of our variables, ID, first name, last name, book count, and amount, and then we use our function of set member info on that index of members. Of course, we're using an array to store all of our instances of members, so that we can store as many people as we want inside an array without having to make multiple variables. Okay? This is now the end of our get members data. Now print members data is going to be the exact same thing, except, not the exact same thing, but it's going to be it's going to be very similar in the fact that they're going to be using, they're just going to be using a function from the class inside of a for loop in order to actually deliver results to the program. So the first thing that we want to have is we want to have int I, and we're going to have another for loop much like this one, actually exactly like this one. And then we come down and paste it right here, and all we're going to do is we're going to execute members. We're going to execute the print info function for all indexes inside of members. Okay? That's basically what this does. And now that should basically be the entire function. Now, the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to get to declaring our main function right here. So, we have our member type store members, and these are going to be the two variables that we're going to have. So first, we're going to have member type, which is going to be our arrays that have the classes in them, and we're going to have the number of members. And now currently number of members is going to be equal to 0. And now all we're going to do is we're just going to execute get members data and then print members data, and then we'll be done with this entire program. So we'll run the program, and we see that the program ran successfully, as you can see. Member ID 10, John Williams. Member ID 20, ID 30. There we go. So I think that this was a fairly simple program. All we had to do was design a class, which allowed us to change all of the variables inside of it, and it gave us multiple different things to work with inside of our main function. And we were able to create a C++ program that was able to read a weird looking input file and turn it into understandable data that can be used in multiple ways. So I hope you all understood this program. It was fairly simple in my opinion. I hope you guys didn't have any trouble, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.